Prime stands with a rallying call. Pixelate faith, standing strong through it all. The flame rate may falter, but hearts won't fall. Chrono rewrites what you thought you knew at all. Late to the game, but his wisdom lands clean. Skill checks are off, that's the price of a dream. Gaming kinda brings a chaos and thrill, dropping rare loot with unshakable will. Forte holds the line, grace under the blade, faith like a fortress that never will fade. Scrag lights the fire with a storm in his breath. $80 flat for unfinished quests. Joy-Con still drifting, my patience long gone. But I'll queue up at midnight, you know I'll play on. Pull up a chair, the battle's begun. Legends are forged in the light of the sun. One life, no saves, play it bold, take the lead. At the gaming roundtable where the fearless plant every seed. We shrine riding tree, ride no please. Rise through the fire, no checkpoint in sight. One heart, one strike through the endless night.
There it is.
We're here.
I'm ready to fight people now. I don't know about you guys, but
I know,
gets me pumped.
I'm always
It's
ready to
such
fight people.
It amps me up, man. Like, where's my sword?
Where's your sword? Where's your 9mm? The intro of that song says Ginger Prime kind of calls us to action, and he's not here today, right?
Yeah.
He's unfortunately dealing with food poisoning, which is the worst thing in the world. Have you guys ever had that?
Yep. Multiple times. Those tacos call me into action of being really sick sometimes, you know?
Yeah. I had some at the time I didn't know, but it was expired guacamole.
Oh.
And it was not, I was home by myself, which was the worst part. So like my wife had texted me like, "Hey, I'm not doing anything today. I feel terrible."
I had it. It was Mexican food. I feel like there's a trend here. It was a good restaurant. I ate there all the time. It was when I was living in Harrisburg and working there, and I got this like dish I've gotten before, but I think the scallops were just funky, and there was like a week straight where I thought I was dying and I was on my own. My roommate was like, "Oh, you're sick. I don't want to touch you." And so I had to like manage all of it. Bottom line, it was one of the top 3 sicknesses I've ever had, and I wish it on no one. But yeah, he called Chrono and I and Scrag to kind of all co-hosts. So I would say let's go around the table. Scrag, how's life for you, good sir?
It's going all right, dude. Just working part-time like usual. Working on a video game and a comic book right now. So should be good. Hopefully. Maybe I'll get some sales.
There you go. Did you have a good Memorial Day weekend?
I did. I actually did a bunch of chores for family because, it's a long weekend, so you can help out, right?
Yep. That's how it goes.
That's how it works.
But I didn't mind. It was fine.
Yeah. Being with family is always good. Chrono, what about you, sir?
Things are going good here. Memorial Day was fun. We rented one of those big old water slides.
Ooh.
And had some friends over with their kids and my kid, and they all had fun. And then Sunday afternoon, me and my wife went down that water slide. And like I tell you, as I get older, it gets harder to climb that thing. Like I'm exhausted, but it's worth the trip down.
When you say water, like, is this an inflatable water slide?
You know, one of those big old, it was like 18 feet tall.
Oh, dang. How much? I'm curious. How much does it cost to rent something like that?
The rate we got was like $300 from Friday morning to Tuesday morning. So like we had it the whole weekend.
That's awesome.
Yeah, on Friday, like we hooked it up and everything. My kid was like, "All day, can I go on the water slide? Can I go on the water slide?" I was like, "Look, let me like get off work so I can get it finished, like hook the hose up and everything." And she was like, "All day," and then from like 3 p.m. Friday to like Saturday night, she was just on it. Like obviously she went to sleep when it was bedtime, but like She stayed on that thing. She was so tired Sunday. It was so funny. I was like, I'd never seen her so tired.
Yeah, as my kid gets older, I'm looking at any opportunity to just have them tire themselves out as a win, right? Because
Sports.
sports, all that stuff. He's not there quite yet, but it sounds
Yeah.
like it sounds like you had a good weekend then too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was great.
It, I cherish the long weekend. Work's been so crazy. We well, Chrono, you saw some of our activities. We had family up Saturday, and they stayed pretty much till Monday night. Then we had family come over. We had about 30 people in our house on Monday.
That's a lot.
And I cooked burgers for everyone. And then we also did a gender reveal for our child on the way. Found out we're having a baby girl.
Congrats.
We're pumped about. Her name is Zaylee Marie. And we also did it in the most Pennsylvania redneck style possible by putting a bunch of balloons, tying them on a 2x4, putting helium in them. Some of them had blue, some of them had pink, and then we got some 9mm 12 gauge slugs and a 5.56 rifle, and just had everyone there who wanted to take a shot. So it was
cool.
a good time. At one point, one of the balloons I hit with the 12 gauge slug. I also nipped a string, so one of them was going off in the air. We're like, hopefully that one didn't have anything important in it. But yeah, it was a good weekend that also was simultaneously exhausting. So this week's been dragging, but I feel like we all have some energy, right? Because some good things are around the corner, Chrono. If you want to kind of take us down like news and topics that we wanted to discuss today, there's some, E3, fake E3 is on its way, right? Is how I call it now.
Yeah, virtual E3 is happening. We've got coming up pretty quick. We've got the Xbox showcase. A lot of people are starting to put their wish lists out there for what they want to see. And then we've got rumors of another Nintendo Direct, which lines up with, it's summer games season, I guess. Was it Summer Game Fest now?
Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest / Fake E3. It really is going to be probably the staple in June moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, if E3 would ever come back in any legitimate form, I don't think it would. I think it's too expensive for the payoff. But if it did, I think people would be excited again because the COVID stuff really messed up like in-person gatherings for so long that it's a shame. I always wanted to go to an E3, and now I just get to watch Jeff Keighley give me all the news.
I think we all had that dream as a kid. I don't know about you, Scrag, but you ever like look at a Game Pro magazine when you were a kid and see E3 stuff and like, oh man, it'd be cool to go, right?
Yeah, I thought it'd be pretty cool. The big thing for me was G4.
Yes.
And seeing them go. Like Adam and all those other people. I was really into that. I never really saw it in like a magazine. I did have Game Informer. But mostly in Game Informer, I just looked at the like screenshots of the new games and would like obsess over them.
Yep.
That's how I got into Monster Hunter.
Yeah. Wow, that was probably early 2000s with PS2, right?
2003 or 4.
Yeah.
I actually got to go to the last in-person one in 2019. We exhibited our indie game there, and we helped out with the National Video Game Museum booth. So we got to be in there before the journalists got in there, and it was childhood dream come true. And then I like to say that they let us in, and then they never had it again, so we kind of ruined it. But
you specifically, I blame you.
I was going up to people like Jeff Gersman and them at Giant Bomb, like handing out demos of my game and stuff like that. And I felt like I was some drug dealer. Like, hey, yo, come in this corner, man.
It's like the guy with the mixtapes in his trunk.
Pretty much. Buy
my CD.
Yeah.
Dropping USB drives with your game on it.
I swear this thing's clean. No virus. It's just dope, man. No. But yeah, you mentioned Xbox Showcase. I almost forgot about this, but we were kind of talking about in the Discord, right? Like, what do you guys want to see at the showcase? What do you think Xbox needs to do just to kind of revive some excitement about the Xbox brand moving forward?
Closure of the console division.
Well, the dedicated handheld got put on the shelf. I saw some articles about that literally like minutes ago. Apparently, the Asus partner handheld Project Kenan has taken priority. for development. So maybe that's coming sooner. I don't know. The next home console isn't affected by this delay. I think they're just going to test the waters with the Asus device that's supposed to come out this year. But
Yes.
Yeah.
in terms of the showcase though, I don't know what I want to see from Microsoft anymore. Like I like generally what they put out, but I imagine we'd get some kind of tease from Halo Studios because they put out that big teaser at the beginning of the year that they basically rebranded 343, all new leadership, and now they're working on something, presumably. So maybe we'll get a teaser for that.
I wonder who holds the rights to Oni.
I would
Just saying.
imagine Bungie still does, huh?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm worried about Bungie though.
To say, yeah, I don't really trust Bungie right now.
Yeah, that's something else we'll talk about there too. I kind of agree. Like Scrag, you kind of were joking about it, but I don't need to hear anything about hardware moving forward. I don't look at them for that anymore. But if they did talk about what their strategy is moving forward, and if they mention anything about this whole idea of like integrating Steam into essentially a box that's manufactured by Asus or something like that, that would actually make me go, because at this point, I do have games on Xbox. I have a ton of Steam games, and I just want something in front of my TV.
Right.
But I agree, like RSJ says, and what you guys were hitting, like I'm more worried about the games. Like I want a release date for their Perfect Dark reboot.
Yeah.
Whatever that's
I want to see what's changed since that trailer we got, because that first trailer, that full trailer we got, was really cool.
Yeah.
I was really interested in whatever we were going to do, but I want to see some gameplay. I want to see like real time stuff. Give me an awkward guy on stage with a controller demo.
Old E3. That's what they would do. They would stand out there and play it. But like Forza 6, Gears, E-Day, I feel like in PlayStation's victim, they've done this too. But the last few years, like their big showcases, they announce all these games and they show a teaser, but a lot of them haven't come out yet.
Right.
And so I just want dates of games. And
I kind of like Xbox's current direction with the last few showcases they've done, where there's a couple of shadow drops or stuff is really close. And Nintendo's kind of taken this direction as well with the directs. Here's what is coming out for the next like couple of quarters or through the end of the year. And so I would hope that this showcase from Xbox shows the stuff we're getting through the end of the year and maybe into 26. But I really don't want to see anything with a 2027 or later release date, because I will have forgotten about that like next week.
Yep. There are a ton of games I know they've showed that I've forgotten about. Scrag, what about you? Is there any games coming out or potentially coming out by Xbox owned studio, which is like 70% of the market now, and that you're looking forward to?
Coming out,
or what you would want to see?
Well, maybe some Scalebound would be cool.
Oof.
Oh, ouch!
Did that hit you a little hard? Twist the knife a little bit.
There was some hope given that what's the guy's name that was directing that game? He's a pretty. I think
it was the Devil May Cry guy. He's working.
Yeah, he said he would be willing to revisit the project if Microsoft wanted to, but I don't know. That was a while ago. That was probably like a year or two ago that was actually.
Yeah,
it looked so cool. It looked like it had some premise.
There's an article here from March of this year with Hideki Kamiya. I'm not saying that right, I'm sure, but Platinum Games director, which his new studio, because that's Platinum Games doesn't exist anymore. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. State of Decay 3, as GT James says too. That's another game they showed already. What, 2 years ago now or last year?
I feel like I've seen it a bunch and it's still not out. So hopefully it releases with, again, it's a game that was shown too early, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm curious about, you mentioned, I don't know if it was on the stream or not, or before the stream, but you talked about something from 343, right? Like, what do you think they could be showing us at this type of showcase?
I mean, now that they're Halo Studios, maybe we get a teaser for either the next Halo or something in the multiplayer space. Maybe we move on from Infinite. I don't think Infinite's a bad game on like a technical level. I think the multiplayer was fun. I didn't enjoy it as much as like previous Halo multiplayers,
Yeah.
but I think it was just personal taste. So I can acknowledge it was good, but I would like to see if they can tell a coherent story, because 343 has really struggled to carry the Halo torch. And it's a bummer because the games are solid games, gameplay wise. It's just if the single player story is not good, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so maybe we'll get a teaser.
I don't think we really need Halo games to be open world. You know what I'm saying?
No. It was a fine approach, but it was weird.
I think that's my take. Like I thought it was actually a pretty well done use of open world Halo. And I partially wonder if it wasn't at first console wise locked on Xbox, if it would have done better, right? So that's part of the thing. I'm thinking we might see them announcing like a Master Chief collection.
That might happen.
PlayStation and Nintendo Switch 2, and maybe Halo Infinite goes to other consoles as well.
I think that's going to be like the biggest takeaway is what are we getting on Switch 2 and PlayStation from Microsoft Studios?
Yeah. And I wonder if when's that Gears of War 1 remake come out?
October.
Sometime in October. They wouldn't spend too much time talking about that, right? I mean,
there's not much else to see unless they're adding unless they talk about the multiplayer. If they're going to hype it up with like some maps from all of the Gears series or something along those lines. I don't see them talking about it much more than maybe showing a new trailer, maybe giving us some gameplay or something.
Like if they're bringing, like you said, horde mode or something to it, which I don't think was in the first one. But yeah, they've already ported it once. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think Microsoft's going to be successful with gaming moving forward, but it's not
no matter what.
It's not. Yeah, they have too much power and capital and IPs to not do successful. But Halo's just, I don't know. I played Halo 5 late, so like after people played it and didn't like it. And Halo is Halo 4 is when Cortana dies.
Yeah,
Cortana dies, and then she goes rogue in 5. Right? It lost me. And it just
it's because they skipped so much of what happened right after 4 that should have been like the next part of the game, but then instead you get thrown into it's some time has passed and the big bad guy's been taken care of in a graphic novel or a footnote in a something, and you're just like, what happened? And that hasn't helped because I liked some of the campaign for Halo 5, but I just don't like I don't like their approach of, hey, what happened between these two games? You'll never know, unless you go like read stuff. And that's fine if that's what you're into, but there's too many games for me to go play. There's too many things I want to go do for me to sit down and like really engage in one IP's lore so deeply.
It's funny to say, yeah, it's fine if you're into that stuff. Reading. Who does that anymore?
Yeah. Books, not around here.
Literacy, who needs it? What about Scrag? You have any other thoughts of what you want to see Xbox do? Anything that would make you feel impressed by them?
Yeah. Dead or Alive, maybe. I don't know. I'm not an Xbox guy.
We talked about it last week, but if we got a Banjo-Kazooie teaser,
that's true.
I think that would be good. But it has to come out the earliest, like this year, the latest end of next year.
Yeah, and I don't think that's happening considering we've been seeing people like Toys for Bob or Playtonic say, we'll make one. Like, well,
right.
If they're the likely developers to do it, it's probably not happening. So, okay. Well, yeah, we have that. Oh, go ahead, Scrag.
I was going to say, unironically though, like literally if they did have some kind of fighting game that had more appeal than like Killer Instinct or something come out to be like a competitor for Sony, and PC, that could be kind of cool. I'd be open to like a new Xbox based fighting game.
Play Fighters somehow get that IP. Primal Rage. You guys remember that game back in the day?
Yeah.
Had action figures for it.
Really?
Yeah, I remember I had like there was like the red monkey and the blue one and like the I was obsessed with it.
That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, it's going to be interesting because the showcase lines up with Summer Game Fest, right, Chrono?
Yeah, it like kicks it off. I think it's Xbox back in the day did their showcase presentation before E3 officially started. So they kind of were like the unofficial start to Summer Games announcement season. And now they're just kicking off Summer Game Fest.
Yeah. Yeah, so Summer Games Fest, I think it's June 6th, actually. So the showcase will be in there. And it's a crazy week, right? Because we have between now and like 4 or 5 days from now, some of us will be standing in line to pick up our Switch 2.
I'm not standing in any lines. Walmart's going to deliver that to my door.
There you go. And Scrag, I assume you've kept the same position of I am not getting a Switch 2, right?
Not at the moment. If they come out with like a really cool game that I want to play, I might get one just to play that game and then sell it.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's what I did with the PS5. So
what was the game for the PS5?
Stellar Blade. You kidding? Have you met me?
I assume you got it on PC now, or you're getting it on PC.
I probably will. I might not. I don't know. I mean, I already beat it, and the only thing really, I don't know. There might be DLC for stuff that's like kind of cool, but like it's like one of those games. Like, well, at least for me, I'm not the kind of person to like replay a single player adventure game. But I don't know. We'll see.
One thing they could announce that would make like a big deal is Xbox did start putting more they reinvested into their backwards compatibility program. If they could announce a bunch of old Activision stuff, come into Game Pass, that would be cool. A lot of those 360 like Marvel Ultimate Alliance and stuff, like that would get people hyped.
Bring back the old Splinter Cell games, like
please.
Yeah. So
I need a new Splinter Cell, but I'm scared of what Ubisoft might produce.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about anything Ubisoft produces in the next until they go out of business in a couple years. So I want them to bring back the old games.
Yeah, same.
And they've kind of recently done that with their whole retro classics thing. But my understanding is those are real retro games like Fall and stuff. And
early days.
Like I think a lot of it runs on streaming technology too, which is I feel like a little strange.
Was it Ant Arcade? Is like the partnership for that?
Something like that. I haven't looked too into it. I just saw some people really hyped that Mech Warrior 2 was available in Game Pass. So
is it really? Is it the console or PC version?
I think it's the PlayStation 1 version, but they just say 32-bit console.
Okay.
So yeah. So if that gets you going, Scrag, get that.
That was my first video game. 4 years old.
Oh
PC.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's pretty cool, man. That's a good memory. Yeah. So I am standing in line for the Switch 2. I'm going Wednesday evening. I was selling my
midnight launch.
Yeah. So nice. I was selling my Switch OLED on eBay, and I don't know, some jagoff decided that he was going to market as counterfeit. Don't know why. I'm one of the most reputable sellers on eBay out there. He just decided to market. So like it was about to sell for double what GameStop would give me, and then that happened. So I'm appealing that, but I might just trade my Switch in at GameStop just to be done with it. It was them. It was GameStop going around.
Yeah.
What's stopping them from doing that actually?
Nothing.
The GameStop CEO is just trolling Reddit in the middle of the night. Like, no, not today.
Well, I know people were going on eBay doing a good thing, calling out Switch 2 listings, which you can't because you don't have it.
Yeah, but, the pre-order policy, it's like selling pre-orders on eBay became a big deal a couple of years ago, I think. And then their policy has been unless you have like a receipt. Like used to, you didn't have to prove anything. You could just go, I've got a Switch 2 pre-order,
Yeah. Yeah, so I am picking up the console, some accessories and games that night, and then Thursday and Friday I went big on this. Y'all can shame me for it, but I have pretty much every launch game that's coming out, from Civ 6, is it, to Puyo Puyo Tetris 2,
nice.
to Yakuza. I want to I've been a little slow on covering things, but this is the one thing I've really been waiting for. So that whole entire weekend next weekend, I'm going to be just living the gamer dream of playing a new console, watching Summer Game Fest, have Jeff Keighley tell me what I should be excited about, and hoping to have some good things to talk about. I'm excited about the console. Yeah. What games did you pre-order, Chrono?
I'm just getting Mario Kart.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back and check out like the enhanced stuff for older games.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna probably dive headfirst into that GameCube collection they're adding, because I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like a lot of the things I'm excited to play are, let's go back to Super Mario. What was the Wii U 2D platformer port? The new Super Mario Brothers U. They're
Oh yeah.
doing frame rate improvements and all that stuff on that game. Pokemon.
Mhm.
I'm looking to check all that
Yeah.
out. And then I saw them confirm last night that the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom patches are free if you have the expansion pass.
Yes, if you have Switch Online plus expansion pack, which is like their full name, and I hate that's a mouthful, but if you have that, you get the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 patches for free, which I think is great.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they had made that clearer up front, because a lot of people were like confused.
Yeah.
What the whole messaging around all of it was confusing, and then now it's gotten clearer. I'm looking forward to running around in those games, just loading up my existing save and just seeing what how does the Lost Woods look, how does
Yeah.
the Korok Forest look in Breath of the Wild on the Switch 2. I'm also interested because a lot of the older games that were getting like the free performance upgrades, they detailed what those games were getting, and some of them are adding HDR.
Yeah.
And I really want to see like how does that affect, because my biggest like selling point for HDR was I played Ori and the Blind Forest, and then I played the second one, and that one had HDR right out of the box, and I was like, holy moly, this is a totally like different experience than the first one. They're very beautiful, but the second one was much more immersive because of how HDR was used. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be that much of a jump, but I still think it's going to look pretty cool.
Yeah. I think we talked about this the other week, but like HDR is really one of the main things that makes a 4K TV worth it. It's the
Yeah.
resolution. I mean, it looks good, but
Mhm.
when you have that good HDR, it does make a difference. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm a fool. I'll be out at GameStop at midnight and driving all the way home to probably go right to bed and then wake up and play it. So it's going to be
The GameStop page put out, or they were sending out emails. They're like, "Hey, if you didn't get a pre-order, don't worry, we'll have some extra units."
yeah.
That kind of surprised me, because the allocations for each store were so weird. Just seeing people posting their like local Switch 2 pre-order situation. So I'm wondering how many extras each store is going to have, because like I live in a small town. I don't think we had that many Switch 2 pre-orders to begin with.
Yeah.
So I wonder if I just showed up, if I could like pick one up. I'm kind of tempted to try.
You want to do that? They're giving out free Red Bull. I think if you're a pro member, right?
I am a pro member. I
like-
did that once.
I am, and I don't know what I use it for.
Same.
Besides when I order a new game from GameStop and it comes slightly used with some mysterious muck on it. But yeah, so that's happening Wednesday. I've seen that with I think all the retailers as well. I think Target's going to have some stock as well. I think
That's
Best Buy
interesting.
might. Well, I can't. The mind of Nintendo is hard to pontificate about. But if I was in a consumer supply chain situation in a company of that scale, we would underpromise retail wise and
Mhm.
just try to move forward as much as possible with getting more units, especially given the changes going on with trade policy. It could happen and
Right.
go back and forth at any second. So, that's I've said this before. That's how I run my marriage: underpromise and overdeliver with anything. It's a brilliant strategy. I do recommend it. But yeah, so I can't wait. From a gaming perspective, like I haven't really gamed at all this month, and I've just been excited to play Mario Kart with my nephews and hang out
Yep.
and have a kind of classic weekend. I think what was the other item you mentioned news-wise, Corona, we were going to talk about?
Let me look. I had notes. Let's see. We could talk about Half-Life 3, but the rumors, it's literally rumors, and we could just fuel the rumor mill by bringing.
You wanted to talk about the marathon thing too, right?
Yeah, you had offered me some clarity on that for sure, but the thing I had seen was Marathon had pulled their marketing campaign, and then there was clarification on that. So if you want to dive into that, we could.
Yeah, so I mean, one thing we all know is that the internet's never wrong. right? So always trust what you read.
Right.
So there was an article that's gone viral about how Marathon's canceling all their marketing campaigns. And while I think we would all agree they're in a really bad space and they may cancel it, it actually was a little bit of a misquote from Colin Moriarty. Moriarty, I'm Italian and I can't say his name. What's wrong with me? Colin Moriarty of Last Stand Media. And essentially, he's calling out the journal articles that are misquoting him, saying, if you're going to quote me with exactly what I said. And he said, I said verbatim, I was told by someone familiar with marketing plans in key overseas markets that there are now no plans to do paid marketing for Marathon at all. I don't know if those plans were affected by what has happened recently or if that was always the plan or whatever, but it is considered a fairly unusual move for a game of this high profile. End quote. He goes on to tweet, me talking about immediately known plans in a single territory doesn't equate to, quote, Sony has canceled all its paid marketing plans for Marathon. Maybe they have. I have no idea. It actually wouldn't surprise me. The game is clearly in enormous peril and should be delayed, but that's not what I said, and it's not what I reported. There's a big difference. And he kind of goes on to give these people a peace of mind. But I do think that's an interesting clarifier, right? Like,
Yeah.
One, it's a bummer that happened, but I don't know. I think this game is canceled. I think they take it off the shelf and rebake it for a few years.
If they could do that, that would probably be the best because the game hasn't hit the market, right? There's been some closed beta and people have been able to play the game and stream it. And there's like a general reaction to it. But so far there are plagiarism and the art thing aside, like let's just move that out of the way. There are too many parallels to how we saw Concord.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing the game and going, okay. And then, we're trying to figure out, like, do I want this? Am I going to engage in this? And I'm watching other people play and I'm like, the gameplay doesn't look that interesting, So if it's, there's articles about former devs who are saying like the environment was toxic to work in. Morale right now at Bungie is pretty low if you're working on Marathon. Like what is their next best thing they can do other than a delay and maybe try to, rework the whole game?
Yeah. Scrag, what are your thoughts on the Marathon situation?
I think they'll do anything rather than pay people what they deserve. And it would probably behoove them to, like hire a new art team, call up Shiro Masamune, pay him whatever amount of money he wants to stop drawing grease cats or whatever he's doing now. And, come help them unmess this thing up from a visual perspective. And then on gameplay, I haven't played it, but the footage that I've seen, I was like not that super impressed with what they had. I mean, you've got like a cyberpunk world and it's like Tarkov. It's like, there's a little bit of stuff that's like kind of cool, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like they could do so much with this that would be like super awesome and fun, but they're just kind of like not. So I would agree. I think it needs a few more years and like a really good team, a really good, well-paid team, and maybe hire that guy who you plagiarized from,
right?
Maybe pay him a couple $1 million to say sorry and then pay him a salary on top of that. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a tough situation because even like you said, the art situation aside, there's nothing about the game that people seem to be. I haven't seen one person besides someone who may be an absolute paid Bungie influencer that is excited about it, right? I've seen people that are like Destiny. They love Halo. They don't like where Destiny's gone lately, but they played this game with an open mind. They said, yeah, it's a game, right? But when you have a game that's meant to be perpetually held up by an active player base, like you're asking for something that needs to be very engaging and demanding. And Scrab, what you're going there, like I don't see anything about this game that would get me to play it at all.
Yep.
Even if they did live service, I just think that there's not enough space for time for people to play these games anymore. And Fortnite's absorbing everything anyway. So I look at it, I'm like, how did you not just launch this as a Destiny mode?
Yeah.
unless they have some plans soon to move on from Destiny in its current form and do something else.
That could be it. But then, even with that, like in this current market and what Bungie has done, offering not even making Marathon free to play didn't do them any favors either. Not that every game we should expect to be free to play, but I think we're at a place now where a lot of multiplayer experiences we just expect to be free to play to some degree.
Yeah.
And you can thank Fortnite and Warzone and everybody else for that. But
Mhm.
I think that's also part of, again, one of those parallels to Concord, that whoever's making these decisions, I don't know if it's a Bungie thing in this case or if it's a Sony thing, but somebody's making a decision with all these service games that Sony was supposed to be pumping out that it's just not working out. And maybe that person needs to be evaluated, like I don't know what's going on there.
Well,
Could be a neon colored hair thing too.
So they had their co-CEOs there for a second, and didn't the one guy kind of already get removed from co-CEO? The Herman Holst, his name was, right? I don't think he's co-CEO anymore. And again,
Yeah.
I didn't dive into all the reporting around Concord, but a lot of the reporting suggested that was kind of his baby, and because of his protection of it, it led to this culture of like, well, we can't criticize it that much. We can't go out there and say this game's probably going to fail. And I wonder if that still exists within the Sony Studio side. I'd also think Bungie has a lot of weight in Sony's dev environment, right? Sony's paid a lot of money for them. They paid a lot of money for their talent and know-how, and they're using them to evaluate a lot of their other multiplayer and games as a service approaches. But yeah, I Kenrick said in the chat there that some devs apparently wanted a PvE side of it. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I don't know anything about Marathon. Did you guys play Marathon back in the day?
Nope.
I tried once. It's one of those old DOS games that, or it's running in an emulator, right? Because it was an old Apple game, and the controls confused me.
They're free on Steam, by the way.
And I'm sure the Steam versions are great, but I downloaded like an old thing, got it running in like a DOS box, emulator, and I didn't know what I was doing. I tried to engage with it. It was one of those. It's definitely one of those early PC games where you kind of learn the story by clicking on things and then reading walls of text.
Interesting.
And that was cool. I was very interested because at the time when I first did it, Halo lore was like my favorite thing, and apparently there were some like very subtle nods in Halo to the Marathon universe, suggesting that they're all in like this a shared universe kind of situation. And so I was like, okay, I'll dive into Marathon. I didn't like it. I really didn't. It was a little too old. I love classic Doom. Like that's a fun time. This was not that.
Yeah, that's kind of my main issue is I have no attachment to the IP.
Right.
My attachment to the IP is strictly from my attachment to Halo and knowing way too much about the origin stories of Halo. I was originally going to be an Apple game. They worked on Marathon before that, but then Microsoft bought it. Like that's where Marathon rests within my brain. And I'm sure there are people that are excited and grew up with Marathon, but are they playing extraction shooters? I mean,
like, yeah, that's the extraction shooter target demographic, like 30 to 45. What do you mean?
I don't know. I'm asking this question. Are you joking? I can't tell.
I'm actually not joking. It's like 25 to 45 is like their target demographic. And I've met multiple people who play extraction shooters who are like in their 50s and 60s.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, maybe on paper, this was a good idea, right? But
I don't know. I said it last week. They need to quit. Everyone needs to quit trying to make extraction shooters a thing. But if you want to make one, go ahead and make it, but like know what you want to produce, because this game feels like a mixed bag of ideas that just became an extraction shooter,
Yeah, I feel like to really make it work, you have to have a real powerhouse of an IP behind it. And I was just thinking to myself, if Pokemon decided they're going to do some type of extraction game, obviously they can't do a shooter because then they just be Pal World straight up. But like you gotta have a major IP like that, I would imagine, to make a splash. And I don't know. I don't even think a Halo could do one.
If they had done it again, if they had done it with Destiny, it might have stuck.
Yeah,
it might have had a better shot, because Bungie can rest on Marathon all they want. Most people don't resonate with that IP.
except the one artist who created all the artwork.
Right, right.
That they stole it from.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in what they're going to do. Do we think Summer Games Fest will see a new trailer from them? That's a good. I think that's a good question. Because if we don't, then I expect delays. You know, if we don't see anything this summer, I would expect some kind of delay.
Internally, between the news of the artwork being stolen and the poorly received beta, I imagine they were making a decision. Do we cut anything we were going to promote at Summer Games Fest? And I think you're spot on, Chrono. I think if we don't see anything about it, we're probably seeing a delay indefinitely until they decide to talk about how they're making things better. And I don't know. It's interesting times. It's interesting times in the gaming world overall, right? There's so many things happening that are changing gaming as we know it.
Yeah.
So it's News wise though, what else did you have on your note besides the always rumored Half-Life 3?
There's a lot of Switch 2 stuff. There's a guy that got a Switch 2 early and took video of him unboxing it, and then it got taken down. It doesn't surprise anyone that it's probably Walmart that broke street date. I don't know. I think the guy was actually Russian and bought the system, however he bought it, and he was just like, what's Nintendo going to do to me? You don't even sell Nintendo products in Russia anymore. So it's like, what can they do?
They can strike the video. That's about it. Yeah. I think the big thing that came out of there is, what's that, Scrag?
They could brick his console.
And they could. Yeah. They do have that policy now.
That was going around a few weeks ago, but isn't that policy also in PlayStation?
It's everywhere. It may be slightly different verbiage, but like Nintendo came under fire because everyone was mad at Switch 2 because it was the announcement confused a lot of people, and then they changed their terms to include like unauthorized modifications, cheating, and something else. And it's basically, instead of saying we can disable your access to Switch services, we can disable your console.
Sure.
But I feel like that can happen with anything now. I mean, if I make a modification to my iPhone, Apple could just be like, hey, no, we don't like that. You can't connect to anything anymore.
It's kind of what you expect with the Apple environment, right? And
right.
It's interesting because from one aspect of things, there is a major struggle with piracy, right? And now that is apparently on the market, people are getting it. Like, you start to explore it, you start to try to see if there's a way you can reverse engineer and get the emulation game there. Nintendo wants to avoid that. I brought this up before, but our game was being downloaded illegally before it even launched on the eShop, and we had no idea how that was possible. It was just like,
well, that's an issue that Nintendo always deals with ever since they've had a digital marketplace, but especially since they called it I guess it was with the Wii U. They kind of tried to unify all the branding around it. But a big third-party game would be releasing, and you'd see a month before, hey, this has been leaked.
Mm-hmm.
And so something that Nintendo is doing, there's somebody with access to a server that has, the game code loaded up on it.
Yeah, so I can tell you from the developer's back end, the way we upload everything, you'd have to have our access to download that specific game. And if there's a vulnerability in that system, I don't know how you almost have to build an entirely new developer back end, which they may have done, because when I log in to see if I can get a Switch 2 dev kit yet, I can't. And there's kind of they always post stuff about where to access things. I don't read it, but they very well may end up creating something new. Yeah, it's interesting. It's there's the pro consumer versus, like, I don't think it's as simple as saying you're either pro consumer or pro corporate, but I do think, like, it's one part of the conversation to say, like, all right, I'm going to emulate some very old games. But as someone who makes games, Scrag, I know you're in that boot too. Like, how would you feel if, like, this game's doing well, but then you realize like 60% of your sales were lost because people just downloaded it illegally? Like, and it's not just the big games either. It's indie games. Ours was a Picross spinoff, right? And people were downloading it illegally, just because they want to have access to everything, and they'll probably never play it. So,
yep, there are people that just collect everything.
Generally, I don't think I'd be that upset, personally, because I know, like, typically when people pirate stuff, they weren't going to buy it anyway. And sometimes when people pirate stuff, they do buy it. So, I mean, if they wanted to play it, wanted to try it out bad enough to pirate it, but didn't have the money or, you know, were low on funds, then I'm not going to be upset that someone likes something that I made.
Yeah.
But also, you know, I'd like to have the money too, but
it's not something you commit violence over, but it is
Yeah.
something where you say it's you're putting in a position where I put my work in, my time and effort and money. There is a theft of something here. And I guess that's probably the issue of these Switch 2s being on the market. I know the other thing about Chrono was, people were talking about you can't boot the Switch up now without a day one patch.
Mhm.
And I've heard different things about that. What have you heard, Chrono?
Oh, just that the system isn't like you get a notice that you need to update it, but the update isn't available, and so you're kind of locked out of launching certain things on the system.
That's actually kind of smart.
And that's how the Switch works now. Like if you go to launch a game, but there's a system level update, like an OS patch or whatever, you have to update it or you play offline. And so, like if I'm trying to play, Pokemon Unite, obviously I need to update my system. So I would imagine, maybe they've extended it further to launching any game prompts. Any game launch prompts the firmware update, and then it goes to query for it and it can't reach it. So then it's like stuck because it knows there's an update. It's not available.
And I've seen information saying too that, well, if you have a game card and you put it in, you'll be able to play it as well.
Yeah,
but
I saw
there's
that
certain features that are, so there's just, again, misinformation, and I don't frankly care enough to look into it because I'm just gonna pick it up and do the patch.
Yep,
and
I'm gonna pick it up, hook it up, download all the day one patches for everything, every game I put in, whatever updates it needs. Like that's just gonna happen.
To your point, Scrag, about it being smart, it also makes me think about how this is impacting parity of access between the gamers and journalists, because it's been reported that journalists aren't getting early access to this game. There's no real special access going. Like Jeff Gerstmann was talking about on his show, like this is the first console since the Super Nintendo he is not getting sent.
Yep.
And they may send one to like USA Today and Washington Post, like those big outlets. But this does mean that a lot of creators and, quote unquote gaming journalists, they'll be touching it the first time we do too.
Yeah.
So
good.
Yeah.
And the special treatment.
And the special. I agree with that. Well, what I will say is if you're going to have it covered, don't lock it up behind certain institutions. Like be like, oh, you're this kind of journalist. We won't let you review it, but we'll let this journalist review it. Like I get there's a supply limitation, but you kind of solve it if you just say day one, you can get it and go from there.
Yeah, get it if you want it, I always appreciate when certain creators are like, hey, I went out and bought this with my own money, like, because then that they're more invested in just delivering something. Yeah. Most of the time, I don't, maybe that doesn't ring true, but at least there's, they put some skin in the game. And that's kind of how I approach it. Like everything, if I've been given anything for free, I disclose that as much. And it's been like maybe 2 games that I've ever done any content for, that it's weird for Nintendo though, to pull back from like the YouTuber kind of economy in that way and not like out those review units early. But maybe that just goes with them trying to make sure that the supply is available, that they didn't even bother allocating the promotional units.
Yeah, could be that. And I think you mentioned access, and like as a journalist, what does that mean? I again, a podcast I was listening to, Nintendo Punching Up podcast, that's also under Last Stand Media. Gene Park is frequently on it. He's a journalist for the Washington Post. I enjoy his writings. I think he's a pretty fair-minded individual. Cool guy, it seems like. And he was talking about how when you work for like Washington Post, he was just sent to cover the new Super Nintendo World and Universal. And they were like, yeah, we'll pay for you to come, that stuff. He's like, no, I can't. I'll get fired. So he had to argue at Universal to make sure they charged his credit card, because he says, if I don't have a bill that I can submit as an expense to the Washington Post, I will get fired because of that conflict of interest you're talking about there. Not this idea of reciprocity. Like there is something to it. right?
Yeah.
Like, I'll will I care as much that this game isn't that great if I didn't have to spend $60 on it? Is the value there?
Mhm.
And for some reason in gaming journalism, as at least as far as it's developed, like that's never been a thing. It's always been free copies, free trips, and that's just the accepted thing in all of gaming journalism. It's not like anyone doesn't partake in that.
Mhm.
Scrag, if I said, hey, here's this free Nintendo Switch 2. You can have it. Just tell me your thoughts about it. Are you going to give it the same criticism that you have now in terms of like if you had to spend your own hard-earned money on games and the hardware itself? Do you think it would affect you in terms of your ability to be truly objective?
I would like to say that I would, but I know that like any other normal person, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yes.
it's fair.
I mean, think about it, right? Like, Square Enix flies you to Tokyo. You get to hang out with Yoshi P for a day, and then they hand you $1,000 for like lunch and hotels and stuff, and they go, "Yeah, just write a review about the new expansion."
I mean,
Are you gonna go, "Oh no, it's bad"? No.
the dopamine is real,
Yeah.
like you're gonna fluff you up, make you feel good, and then if I was given free hardware, yeah, I'd be excited about talking about that hardware. The excitement that I have would just come through naturally.
Right.
We are social creatures. We like to be liked, and it's hard for us to truly live in a silo like that. So yeah, I think you're spot on, Scrag. If I was getting paid, I'd be like, dude, I was hanging out at Square Enix. That's all I would care about.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm a little bit more of an adult now. I've been in the professional world for 15 years ish. So like, it maybe not wow me. It might not wow me as much, but there's always that little side of yourself, like the kid side, like, oh, it's so cool.
Mhm.
yeah.
Speaking of cool though, you guys play MMOs?
Sometimes.
There's one coming out pretty soon that I'm pretty excited for, that I hope is good and not a Korean pay to win cash grab. Chrono Odyssey. Have you guys seen it?
Yes,
I have.
actually, I've seen like it looked cool. I was like, I gotta play this. It's got my name in it, right? And so, looking at it, I was like,
I
"Ooh,
didn't
this
even think
actually looks
about
kind of
that.
neat." I was like, "This looks neat." And yeah, I remember when I looked it up. I don't know what showcase had a trailer for it recently. It looked cool.
I feel like it was a PlayStation one, wasn't it? Maybe
I'm not
last
sure.
year.
I've been looking at it. I've been following them for like several years.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks really good. I like the art direction, and then it looks like they have these big sweeping landscapes.
Yeah.
And that's what sucked me into Final Fantasy 15, honestly. Was just how, like, I know it's not an MMO, but like the fact that there's just big open world that I can just go look at any corner that I want to. And I started doing that, and I was like, man, this looks interesting. And then you get over there and there's nothing and you're a little disappointed, but it could pull me in. So yeah, I would like to give this one a shot.
Yeah.
It looks sweet. I hope it doesn't ruin my life.
I hope so too. It sounds like you're I'm now concerned a little bit, but I'm also excited for you. It's something I'll definitely keep my eyes on for sure. When's the potential release date for that?
Well, they have a beta test in like a week or two.
Okay.
You can sign up for it on Steam. I haven't gotten any notification about it yet.
Okay.
But I'm excited. And
I'm launching Steam now.
yeah.
There you go.
I don't know if we talked about it yet, but what have you guys been playing?
Yeah, I was gonna say let's kind of wrap it up with that. Why don't you go, Scrag? Because you seem to be playing something you're very excited about.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, for full context, it is the first video game I've played in like over a month, so it might just be the dopamine rush. But Elden Ring, Night Rain, the like, I want to say it's kind of like Fortnite. I'm not going to be real here. It's kind of like Elden Ring, Fortnite, but it's actually pretty fun. It's fun. There's been a lot of bad reviews, like, oh, it's shallow. Oh, it's it's just Elden Ring remixed. But to me, I as someone who never finished Elden Ring because it's just it's not. I don't have time like that anymore. It's like really cool to just like hop in, pick a character, which all of them look pretty sweet, by the way. Um, run around fast, like parkouring over fucking castle walls and stuff like a ninja, and just like beating the crap out of monsters for like an hour, and then it's done. And then you get like points to buy like upgrades and runes and stuff to use on your next runs, or you can log off like I do. And I really appreciate that it's a game that you can kind of just get on, play a game with the boys, maybe two, and then you're satisfied for the evening.
It's okay, Chrono.
No, I'd say I we were kind of talking about it before the show. I've never played a Souls game. That I was gonna. I've been requested to try Elden Ring, so I think I'm gonna get it on Switch too, just to see how it plays there. And so I want to dive into it, but this looks like it'd be more up my alley, according to Scrag, because it's a casual approach, and I don't want to have to invest a bunch of time into a bunch of systems. If I could jump in and stab some things and feel good about myself, then yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that you can do like in the lobby. Like you get these things called, I think they're called runes, but you can burn them at like an incense thing, and that gives you a buff for the run. And just stuff like that. There's a system where like you can unlock side quests for the character that you use, and I don't know what that does exactly, but you can do it.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty neat. It's like I was saying in the Discord, it's like all the best fun parts of the Souls games, and I would even argue kind of including Sekiro, because there is a guy who has like a clutch claw type mechanic, and the sprinting that you can do on your characters is like super fast. It's like you're like an anime character, just like dashing across the plains like as fast as possible. But
is there a lot of like variety, and like is there? I guess the question is there a lot of content? Because I remember playing Dauntless, and it was cool, and there was a lot. You could buddy up, and it was like Monster Hunter basically. I had a lot of fun with it, but the bosses, like there wasn't a lot of variety in what you were going to fight for a while.
So basically, as far as I understand, because I haven't cleared the first mission yet, there's 8 bosses that you have to kill and maybe a couple extra ones, and there are definitely other ones that you can unlock on the map in the game if you find the right key.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if the map changes for each boss or not. I haven't got that far. But in terms of the amount of content, I don't know if 8 bosses is enough for some people, but for me, someone who's not like super good at Souls games, I'm just kind of having fun just doing it. And like if I only play it for like a month or two, or like every Friday night for the next 4 months, like I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
It's only $39, right?
Yeah.
That's it's to me, I always thought it was just going to be a really smart move by FromSoft to say, let's do a little bit of an asset swap. Let's create a little bit more of a unique contained design here, and let's release a game that's pretty affordable. But for you to say that there's a lot of speed to it, and you feel like you're actually playing something, like you're not just playing Elden Ring, but with a Fortnite dome coming down on you, it makes me think they put more work into it. So like that with the price point, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good deal. I've seen the reviews, and I've also seen people completely unfazed by them saying, looks interesting. I'll probably wait till it goes on sale a bit, but yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Do they really put out a bad game? Have they?
Yeah, they have in the past.
When was the last one?
The Dark Souls series. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a huge Armored Core fanboy, and I was so mad when they stopped making Armored Core games to make Souls games. But I'm glad everyone else enjoys them. I enjoy them too, just not as much as my beloved Armored Core series, which actually, if you've never played a FromSoft game, Armored Core 6 is probably literally the easiest FromSoft game you can play.
Isn't that the new one?
Yeah, it came out like last year or the year before.
Okay, it looks cool. I love mechs.
Yeah, it's super cool
and stuff like that. I I have every intention to pick that one up because back in the day I used to play. Well, what was it 4? It was on 360 and PS3. I remember playing that one.
Sounds
For
right.
answer, well, no, 5 was on 360. I guess 4 was also 4 was on PS3. I thought I didn't.
Yeah, I remember playing it, and I was just hooked, just because I was like, "Ooh, I can customize this thing like really a lot more than I expected to be able to."
That
It
is
reminded me of like the
PS1.
old Mech Warrior games, just faster.
The PS1 and PS2 games, bro. We would Sunday afternoons after church, me and my buddies, the pastor's kids, we would go sit in their living room and just build mechs on like Armored Core 1 and 2 for like
That's cool.
hours and fight them.
There you
That's
go.
super cool.
Seems like a great way to celebrate the Lord's Day, and I'm not joking about that.
With mecha violence.
Mech artificial mech violence. We are at the 2:00 mark, and I do have some things for work that are coming my way, so we may have to just kind of wrap it up. So I was going to just throw it around and say, where can we find everyone? Chrono, you good sir? What's on your week ahead, and where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitch at Chrono32123, and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days. Those are the primary places I'm at. And also what's coming down the pipe this week. Well, I'm pumped for the Switch 2, and I think that's going to take up just all of my consciousness for the next week or so. And then trying to finish up this Star Wars Battle Pass in Fortnite, because it's a really fun season. You can get in the Star Destroyer now and just bombard the map. What more fun is that?
Have they fixed the AI Darth Vader from saying overtly problematic things?
They did patch it a little bit. He still says stupid stuff, so you can like give him some like Gen Alpha slang, and he will just come out with the brain rot words. But it's kind of entertaining. It's very fun to talk to Darth Vader. Like he told me my skills were questionable, and I said your breathing is questionable, and he was like, "Was that supposed to be some kind of insult?" And I'm like, "Wow, Darth Vader, impervious to my burns."
There you go.
But not all burns.
I know, right? Pun intended there. Thank you.
I think you had the high ground there, Chrono. Scrag, what about you, good sir?
You can just find me here for now. I'm not doing any content outside of this for the time being. So just subscribe to the channel that you're watching this on. That's good enough for me right now.
Subscribe to the channel, everyone. You can find me here most Fridays as well, or at Mark J. Liberto on most platforms as well. And we're going to wrap it up. Thanks again, guys. Chrono, Scrag, for helping kind of co-host it. This was fun. Brian, get better if you're still listening. And whatever you ate that made you this sick, don't eat it again.
Yeah, stay away. Whatever it was, stay away.
It was guacamole or some taco or something like that. Then we got to have a different conversation offline. All right. How do I just hit end stream, right?
Yep. Roll the outro.
Oh yeah.
I'll roll the outro. All right, gents. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. Take it easy, everyone.
Bye.